Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in another video. All right, so talk about a little basketball here. I'm eating breakfast, enjoying my meal here. This is what I heard. Our Los Angeles Lakers, if you're a Laker fan, we're talking about maybe doing a trade with a team that has multiple first-round picks. It's Orlando, and that is Utah. That's exactly what that means. The Lakers are exploring doing trades with teams that have multiple first-round picks, was the word. Now, you can interpret that a couple different ways. One, maybe they want both of those picks. Maybe they only want one of those two picks. So that's something. Maybe that also means multiple first rounders, including futures. I don't know. They didn't specify. But my guess, it means that the Lakers would like to take an opportunity to get two picks in the first round. Now, I got to expand that to say Charlotte has multiple picks. So maybe we want to get 26 from Charlotte. They have two, obviously. Number 2, to be exact. So that's multiple picks. So it's a lot of different ways to look at that. But in my head, I jumped immediately to them wanting to move up. Possibly. Even though it actually probably makes more sense for them to move down. Either way, it's so many different ways that could go. And I'm excited about it because I want the Lakers to get more than one first-round pick. As I told you guys, being a 17 for me is okay. But I'd rather be closer to 14, 13 to get who we really, really definitely want. So we have more pick of the litter. Or move back to like 22, 23, because I think I can still get the guy I get at 17 at 22, 23, possibly. Or at least still be in the mix to get one of those players that I really, really like in the range. But I also want you guys to understand that I think that the Lakers would be better off having more than one first-round pick because there are so many players that you're going to leave on the board when you take that one player that you get that you ultimately probably really like. After doing homework on 4 and 5 of these prospects in the range, you're going to walk away not being able to choose just one for your team. I think every team's going to have that problem in this range. This is one of those drafts where you're like, my God, I really want Lively, but damn, if Case and Wallace available, how do I pass on him? What if we find ourselves in a situation where Grady Dick is available and Jordan Hawkins is available somehow? Do you pass on both of them? How do you live with yourself? You don't. You want to get 2 first-round picks. You want to find one of them teams that don't need first-rounders and get them. So I have the list of teams who have multiple first-rounders in my face right now. The Pacers are probably the one that's more likely for the Lakers to actually get. And you trade down, if you give them 17, they'll probably be more likely to give you 26 and 29, right? But that pulls me back a little too far away from the range that I want to be in theory. Now we're looking at a different range of players. I'm thinking more about staying in between 10 and 20, I guess, is the range that I think I'd love the most. Maybe span that to about 24. Between 10 and 24 is where I want the Lakers to be able to get picks if I'm looking at the range that I love the most in this draft. So that's what it is, looking at names like Lively, Grady Dick, Coulibaly, Kobe Buffkin, Case and Wallace, Jordan Hawkins, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Leonard Miller, G.G. Jackson, Nick Smith, Noah Clowney, Keontae George. Those are the players that you think about immediately in this range. Dariq Whitehead, Jet Howard, Maxwell Lewis, Amari Bailey. Those are all the guys that you expect to be in the range that the Lakers are in at 17. Likely you be able to get one of those guys. So I want 2 of them. It seems like the Lakers do too. That's what it seems. So I'm excited about that. I really am. I hope the Lakers are able to pull that off. And I hope that we like what we do when we do it. Meaning not giving up stuff that we don't want to give up in order to make that happen. Now, I don't know what that looks like, to be honest with you, given the fact that a lot of our most prized possessions are free agents. Think about the guys you don't want to let go of. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, obviously Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, we would love to resign. You know what I mean? But for me, after that, it's up in the air. I want to keep Vando, but if we can't utilize him to his best of his abilities, probably one of the more attractive trade pieces we have. I'm not on board with giving up Vando. I'm going to tell y'all right now I'm not. But if we can't use him no better than we did last year, we don't have Vando. We have a lesser version of Vando, as to which you're not gonna get the experience that he provides. If we're rendering him somebody who must be able to hit a corner 3 in order to get on the floor, we probably need to send him somewhere else that ain't the problem, because he didn't have that problem in Minnesota and he didn't have that problem in Utah. And if I'm one of those 2 teams, I want him back. If I'm Minnesota, I want Vando back. I'll tell you right now, I never wanted to trade him anyway if I was Minnesota. I just wanted to make that stupid trade that I shouldn't have made. So these are the type of things I think about when the Lakers have opportunities to make trades, what they could obviously could do. Vando's probably one of the more attractive contracts out there for a team. So I think that he's probably one of our most valuable trade pieces. And I can see the Lakers possibly doing something like that to try to put themselves in a position to draft a guy like, Cam Whitmore or something like that to get a little closer to get a little closer into the lottery range. But that probably ain't gonna get it done. But if you couple it with 17, couple it with 47, couple it with probably something else, maybe even I don't know, Mo Bamba, maybe you can try to squeeze into the lottery. I doubt it, but these are the type of things that I would just dream about if I'm trying to trade up, and possibly would add a player like Vando, of whom I don't want to give up, to try to make something happen. Also, sliding away from the Lakers, we can just make this whole NBA video. I hear the Charlotte Hornets, in regards to making a trade with New Orleans, maybe Zion's not who they're targeting. We made a whole video about how they need to, Charlotte should be willing to bring back guys from the Carolinas. I didn't even think about B.I., who's actually from North Carolina. Those other two dudes are from South Carolina. B.I. is actually from the soil, so it becomes a situation where he's probably more likely to be the guy that stays in Charlotte than Zion or Ja, and I just didn't have that come to mind for some stupid reason. But that's who I think they're targeting. And I've said it before on this camera, if you're going to go for Brandon Miller, why not just go for B.I.? He's a better version of Brandon Miller. Longer arms, more capable to do what you need him to do today than Brandon, who's going to have to take some time to ultimately become who he's going to be. And there's no way of knowing who's better in the long run. But if you ask me, I'm going to take B.I. today if I'm the Charlotte Hornets and bring the hometown kid. To me, if I'm going to let go of Scoot Henderson, I could put B.I., LaMelo together. Obviously, Mike Bridges, his name is Miles Bridges, P.J. Washington, Williams. That's a hell of a starting five right there, buddy. You got yourself a starting five you could like a lot. It fits with one another. Players that could probably get you to the playoffs. So I think Charlotte is probably in the best position to make the biggest jump of any team in this draft. When you consider what that number 2 pick can do for them, and the fact that they have several other picks too, including 27, who I think they're going to get a nice player at that range as well. So, and I think they got 3 other picks in this draft in the second round or something like that. I heard they had like 5 picks in the draft. So that's probably a team the Lakers want to make a trade with. I obviously don't think we have the package to get Scoot Henderson, but I certainly think we could trade down and get Bryce Sensabaugh if he's in the 27 or something like that. And maybe some of their second rounders, but I doubt that the Lakers are looking to get further into the second round. It's being understood that the Lakers want first round picks, teams that have multiple first rounders. I think Bilal Coulibaly would be a great player for the LA Lakers, man. I really do. Now, not to say that we have any chance of getting him because he's gone by 17, but if I'm trading up, I wouldn't be upset if the Lakers taking a long small forward. Somebody who could play some defense, possibly develop into something really good. Extra length there to help Anthony Davis, Bron. I just love the idea of having us another swing man who really just fits in, slide in, and just do some good things. Now, he has been somebody who they say doesn't really get engaged in plays all the time. Kind of had that trouble with Troy Brown a little bit around here. But ultimately, I'm growing to respect what Coulibaly can do in the NBA as he develops into whoever he's going to be. So that's something I wanted to say as well. My interest in him is starting to grow. And so on and so forth. But, look, if the Lakers trade back, I'm telling you, I'm going to be very happy. If we somehow trade 17 for, the Nets picks, because they're also at 21 and 22, do not forget them. You trade 17 for 21 and 22, you're going to get some fantastic players. Fantastic players. You think about the Rockets, they also have multiple first-round picks. They're there at 4. They are also there at 20. So you definitely throw them in the mix as teams that could do some things in regards to this. The Pacers, as we've already said, have multiple picks as well. So, yeah, do not rule out the Lakers trading 17 for 21 and 22 because that's basically the kind of thing that we did to get Kyle Kuzma with that same team, the Brooklyn Nets. So I would not be surprised if the Lakers trade back, try to get 21-22. I don't know if 17 is enough to get you 21 and 22, but I think 17 and 47 may do it. They may, depending on how much they value the 2 picks. So I don't know how the Lakers would ultimately do it. I don't know what would be available to them. But if we can get the Nets picks, that's a win. That's a win. That's a massive win. If you can get those, if you can get 21 and 22. The Blazers also, if I didn't mention them already, they're at 23 and they're also at 3. Of course, we know they're going to move 3, but they should be willing to move 23 as well if they want to get older. So I don't know how that would move into play. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. With these teams who have multiple picks, see what's up. See if they want to do a little dealing, Rob Pelinka. I'm definitely on board with that. So yeah, that's something I wanted to say. It was some other stuff too. Obviously with Zion Williamson's the hot name that could possibly be on the move. If he's not going to be headed to Charlotte, then you have to wonder what other options he's going to be having for him. Obviously a lot, but just curious to see which ones. I haven't done any thinking about that. As far as where I would go if I'm Zion Williamson, where I would want to go. To be honest with you, the Hornets, but the Blazers, that's the team I'm looking at. When I looked at their depth chart, they could use a 4, man. They can use a 4. Now, I already been on record saying that I think they'd be stupid for acquiring Zion Williamson if they're trying to help Dame win a championship, because Zion can't necessarily do that for you right now. He can't even get on the floor. But as far as just a team needing a power forward, just in a nutshell, there ain't too many teams that need a power forward more than the Blazers do. Ain't too many. So if you think about a place that Zion could just go and slip right in, Portland. It might not be something he's excited about, but it could definitely fit there very well. What else? Some of these teams that are out here could use a big. Also, Golden State, from what I understand, they want to trade Jonathan Kuminga, the player who I couldn't remember his name last night, but I was referring to him as somebody who's not a Warrior type player. They're trying to get a high lottery pick for him. Ain't gonna happen. A high lottery pick ain't gonna happen. So I'm just telling the Warriors right now. I know they got a new GM there, or whatever. I don't know who's running their organization since their GM left or the president left. But as far as them thinking they're going to turn Jonathan Kuminga into a high lottery pick, you ain't play him up to that level, and you know it. So putting price tags like that on your stuff is just, you ain't going to sell it. If you want it to actually be sold, you better put a reasonable price tag on it. If you think the Magic about to give you, or Pacers about to give you their pick for Jonathan Kuminga, of whom you couldn't get nothing out of these last couple of years, that is not happening. So I just want the Golden State Warriors to understand that it ain't happening. So, yeah, what else is going on here? I look at the Hawks. The Hawks, I don't know if they have 2 picks, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. They have a lot of different directions they can go. The Hawks aren't usually a proactive basketball team in situations like this. Being at 15 is a decent range, but you never know what they have plans for their team. Just looking at them, they got a pick there. Excuse me, the Raptors. I'm a firm believer that the Grizzlies probably want to move up. I'm a firm believer that the Grizzlies at 25, with what they're faced with, ain't good enough. Not this year, not with their timeline, having some young talent, but mostly focused on John Morant probably being suspended for multiple months. You just know that they would probably be best to have a higher value there, or to trade it for something rotational that can help them win, or what have you. So I don't know if they would be willing. I don't know what their thoughts are, but I'm just throwing that out there. So, yeah, man. The Rockets, as I said, they got number 20. That's an intriguing pick if you're trading down. Yeah, but excuse me, nothing's more intriguing to me than those Nets 2 picks if I'm the Lakers. Nothing. If I'm going to trade 17, my ideal move is to get those 2. And I don't know what the Nets' ideas are, but they didn't want picks. And if we remember, they traded Royce O'Neal. They traded a whole first-round pick for Royce O'Neal, which I still think don't make no damn sense. So with that being understood, they'll probably be willing to move on from picks there to get rotationals. As ill-advised it seems to me, that's what I think they would more likely want to do. So maybe because they don't value draft picks the way they should, we try to give them 17 for 22 and 21 and 22, and hopefully we can get lucky there and do it. But if the Nets brass is following me, and they may, because I've addressed them many times in the past, I do believe that draft picks should be something that you want, not don't. Um, yeah, don't trade away your picks unless you're going to trade them to my Lakers for 17. But as far as you trade them for a rotation or something like that, you want to stay in this draft. You don't want to stay out of it. So that's something that's on my mind, and we're looking at these circumstances here. I hear that Anthony Black is somebody that the Jazz are enamored with, which is really interesting because I got him off the board before then. I was listening to Coach Spinella break down various things that the Pacific Northwest can do, and he mentioned that. I think the Jazz, looking at their depth chart based on what it is he showed us, he had Taylor Horton Tucker as a 3, and that's where I think I have it as Taylor Horton Tucker is actually a 1. I think THT wants to be a 1. I think THT is an aggressive ball in hand kind of guy, and because of it, I'm not as intrigued with taking a guy like Anthony Black for the Jazz with the 9th pick if he's available, as I am with them taking a forward if one is available to them that they like. A guy like Azur Thompson may be available. Do I like Azur Thompson over Anthony Black? We had that conversation last night. It just depends on what it is I need. They're both the same size. They both do some of the same stuff. So if I'm the Jazz, if either one of those guys fall to me, that might be something I'm interested in. But I just think that they're more likely to be able to find guards with the 16th pick than they would be with the 9th pick. But if you think they need guards only, then what's the difference? They could just take, Cason Wallace and take like a Kobe Buffkin or something like that, depending who's ever available to them, and just be happy with 2 guards. If they really want to address their guard position, if I'm them, honestly, I'm taking both of those picks and I'm trading it to the Hornets and I'm getting myself Scoot Henderson. You see what I'm saying? If I'm going to address my guard position, I'm addressing it all the way. And then the Jazz taking 2 guards in the middle of this round is a nice thing, but I'd rather, if I'm the Jazz, take a forward and a guard, or trade both of them picks and get me the guard. So that's how I'm looking at it. If I'm the Jazz, I'm not selling for nothing. I like what they have with their offense. Maybe you don't see it that way because you think 2 is better than 1, but I'm going to get the gusto, baby. And I think the Jazz 2 picks may be able to put them in a position to do that if they add something to it with the Hornets. I wouldn't necessarily trade for 3 because that doesn't guarantee that I get Scoot Henderson. If the Hornets get Scoot Henderson, now I'm looking at Brandon Miller. He's not a guard. Now I'm in a bad spot. So if I can't get number 2 pick, I'm not going to make that trade if I'm the Jazz. I'm not doing that with the Blazers. Unless it's draft night, and for some reason the Hornets took Miller, and then obviously the Blazers would add Scoot, and so that's when I'm like, all right, all the teams are going to be looking to get the Blazers pick at that point. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens on draft night, to see if these guys get moved. I'm not leaning one way or another. I don't know what's going to happen. I think teams are interested in getting things, but I think it's probably going to be a little more difficult than teams want to admit. Like the Pelicans, for example, with them trying to get Scoot Henderson, I don't know how they're going to do that. Now, they do have the 14th pick in the draft, which could make them a bit more attractive of a trade partner than maybe otherwise. That lottery pick could be intriguing to the team that you make the trade with, along with maybe Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, obviously. That's the good thing about the Pelicans situation is they do have a lot of talent. You talk about a guy like Jones. Any team should want Jones, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot going on there. Alvarado, another player that teams should covet very much. Trey Murphy III, which should be an untouchable if you ask me, one of my very favorite shooters in all of basketball. Trigger Murphy is a guy that I want my Lakers to acquire 4 or 5 years from now. Please get that kid. He's on my wish list of the highest order. I just think he's going to be a very, very, very great shooter one day. And so that's what I got to say about the Pelicans. The Pelicans are one of the better rostered teams, and so whatever they're building should be really nice in terms of their roster. They just got to find a way to get the superstar on the floor so it can all come together. And so if they're thinking about trading Zion Williamson, for that reason, I get it, because they really have done a good job of putting talent around him, and he just hasn't been there. So that's something I'm thinking about. The Pacers and Zion Williamson could be curious to me, although they're firmly in a position to just draft their next power forward without any of those troubles at all at 7. Taylor Hendricks, Jarris Walker, Cam Whitmore. One of those three guys should be available for the Pacers. So I don't know if I'm thinking Zion Williamson's an upgrade necessarily, because at least with these young players, I expect for them to get on the floor. With Zion, I don't know what the heck I'm going to get out of him. So that's the problem with Zion. However, just like with anybody else who's not doing too well with off-the-court stuff, you get them for a lower price. So if ever there was a team who was in love with Zion Williamson, it's the time to go after him. And that brings me to the LA Clippers. Y'all know how I feel about the LA Clippers. They should, in theory, be a clean slate. There should be nothing there that they're not willing to let go of in 20 seconds flat. I'm sorry. They should be the team going after Scoot. They should be the team going after Zion. They should be the team going after B.I. They should be the team going after every single soul in the league, because they are the number one team that I legitimately think should be willing to blow everything up from scratch right now. And I think that they are just probably not thinking that way. And I think it's to the detriment of their very own situation. And I say it on this camera every single time I mention basketball damn near these days. Blow it up. Trade Paul George for Scoot Henderson right now, man. That's all you got to say. And I don't know if that's the best offer, because if I can get B.I. and I got to choose between B.I. and Paul George, I'd probably go with B.I. But the point is, the Clippers need to be in the mix with all that they have with those two superstars that still hold a lot of value, even though you can't count on them to be on the floor for longer than 30 games. Get them guys out of your situation, Clippers. I promise you, you'll be better for it. You'll be better for it, because if you keep going forward the way you've been doing, trying to get older, I promise you, you're going to fall out of the playoffs. You're going to be out of the playoffs with no picks to show for it. This is your time to do that. This is your time with Paul George still got that value. People still enamored with Kawhi Leonard's abilities. You can still do it. But if you wait longer than this summer, if you don't do it now, and you try this crap next year, you ain't getting half of what you would have got for them this year, next year. I'm telling you, Clippers, don't drag your feet on this nonsense, because those two players have proven time and time again that they are not going to win you a championship together. Not at all. So if I'm them, I'm like, give me Ja Morant, give me Zion Williamson, give me Scoot Henderson. All that stuff everybody wants, I want it here in LA with the Clippers. If I'm a Clippers fan or organizational owner, that is what is needed. Because otherwise, where they're headed, nowhere fast. And this idea that Kawhi and PG are going to come back around and make it through a regular season and get to the finals and beat Jokic, beat everybody else, that is not going to take place. I cannot stress this enough. They are a middle-of-the-pack team going nowhere. You got to blow it up, and you got to blow it up now while those guys still have some value. So that's what I got to say. It's a lot of teams that want to make moves, but none of them need to make moves more than the LA Clippers. None of them have more of a ridiculous timeline than that team right there. So that's what I want to say. It's good to see the Golden State Warriors trying to move on from Kuminga. He does have value. You're not going to get a high lottery pick, but you can get a nice rotational. Very nice young player. You should be able to get a very nice young player. Maybe somebody in the middle of the pack, like 16, 17, 18, 19. They might want to do something like that. But nobody in the top 5, 10, nobody's going to want to do that. Not in my mind. Nah. And when I look at these teams, I'm like, which one of these teams want Jonathan Kuminga? Spurs? No. Hornets? No. Blazers? Maybe. Blazers? Maybe. Because they need the power forward. But do they value him over what it is they can take here? No. Rockets? No. Pistons? No. Because the Pistons, yeah. And you did a deal with the Pistons that landed them Wiseman. So maybe they'll deal with you again. Maybe you can pull off trading the 5th pick for Jonathan Kuminga. The problem is, if you're the Pistons fans, you probably don't want to do that because you have a chance to get somebody better than Jonathan Kuminga. Taylor Hendricks, Jarris Walker, Cam Whitmore, all better than Jonathan Kuminga. So, I mean, it's just, that's pie in the sky, Golden State. Pie in the sky, baby. That's all that is. Draymond Green, I still think that I'm in a space right now where I value, and I said this last night in my video, I value the non-point guard facilitator more today than I did yesterday, because Jokic just won a championship. Draymond won a championship the year before. You don't need your point guard to be passing all the time, and a lot more of these point guards are coming in score first. Although there are some real good ones that pass first. Obviously, Scoot's coming in, Asur, and these facilitators, Amen, Anthony Black, they're here. But you also got the Kobe Buffkins, who's more score a little more. Jordan Hawkins looking to score, even though he's not really a point guard. He's small like that. The scoring guard, Nick Smith is a scoring guard. Keontae George, scoring guard. Amari Bailey, I think, is a scoring guard. That kind of thing. And you're going to have more of these guys coming into the league that are going to require you to have facilitators in other positions to make them come together to make sense. So, for me, I'm on board with keeping Draymond Green because I know he's going to be that facilitator even as he continues to age for the Golden State Warriors. So his value for me has actually increased over the last couple months. And I didn't see that coming, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not as quick to let him go at all if I'm Golden State. And so, yeah, that's just an updated thought. And damn, I never thought I'd say that, but I actually believe it. But nevertheless, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Curious about Dariq Whitehead. I really do think he fits well with a lot of teams, especially us. The guys need to be able to catch and shoot very well. I don't know if there's a better catch and shoot player in this draft. So if we trade down to where his range should make sense, I wouldn't be mad at us taking him at, 22, 21 if we get him there. I'm not mad at that. I don't want to take him at 17, but if you get him where he's supposed to be gotten, that's solid. But then again, some people might have him fall into the second round because of those foot injuries. And that might make sense too, given how good some of these teams from the back of that draft are looking. So it's things we're thinking about, man. The draft is fastly approaching. Next Thursday, I believe it is. And, I just think that this is just going to shape the league a little bit. When you look at this influx of talent, this first round looking so talented, and you couple that with how the collective bargaining circumstances have gone, where they got it so that, it's going to take a lot more to keep players. It's going to take a lot more to keep your stars together. Guys got to get waived that probably wouldn't have got waived. You would have never seen Chris Paul get waived under any other circumstance if not for this collective bargaining agreement making it absolutely impossible to keep him on contract while maintaining a decent team. You would have never saw that. And with that being said, I don't know if he's going to stay in this league. I don't know if he's going to retire. I don't think he is. In fact, I don't believe he is. But I also don't know where his landing spot is. And that takes me to some of these teams that need a point guard who may not be able to get one in this draft. You may want to turn your attention to an old Chris Paul and just take him on for 1 year while you have that issue. So that's what I'm thinking. If for some reason the Utah Jazz don't get their point guard, maybe they decide to, maybe something goes wrong. I don't know. But if for some reason they don't get their guy, I think that's a decent place for Chris Paul to kind of land, do a 1 year deal, go back to the Clippers for sure. Since Westbrook is likely going to be gone, where is he going? If he goes anywhere at all, do they bring him back and bring in a Chris Paul? I don't think that's crazy, especially if they don't blow it up and try to do this like I suggest they do. That might be the way to go if their owner refuses to trade Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Then the next step for me as their GM is to try to make sure that we get older with the talent necessary to feel good about ourselves. So I'm probably going to bring Chris Paul back. I'm probably going to sign Russell Westbrook to something minimal, and I have both of them on my team. That's how I would do if I were the Clippers. And just go forward, going old, and hope to God that it's good enough, even though I don't believe it will be. But it should be something that they should probably have in mind right now if they're not going to blow it up. So I see a reunion for Chris Paul going back to the Clippers. I don't think he's coming to the Lakers. I don't think so. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Not if he's going to be a minimum contract. I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. But I think with Chris Paul, you got to understand he's not going to be available at the end. He's just not. It's not even about, no, you definitely know he's going to be hurt in the end. It's clockwork. It always happens. So you just got to have enough insurance in place and just not have so much reliability on him to do anything. If he shows up and plays well, then you got some Chris Paul jump shots hit. You got some facilitating genius. Other than that, at this stage in his career, it's retirement time for Chris Paul. Let's just be real. We're there. So I'm bringing him in. He don't have to start for me. He really don't. Like I told you guys, I probably put him in a situation where, my ideal situation for Chris Paul is he's mentoring one of these youngsters. He's mentoring Anthony Black. He's mentoring Cason Wallace. Like, that's how I have it going. He ain't, Nick Smith. He ain't going to be the starting point guard in my situation unless I'm the Clippers and I got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, unless I'm the Lakers and I got Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Because that way his timeline makes sense with those guys and we're moving old. That's just who we are, which is what I do not want if a Laker fan. So that's what I'm at with that. I just think that Chris Paul is going to be a very interesting free agent. I don't know if he's going to want multiple years. I don't think he's going to be able to demand big money or nothing like that. That contract he was on was obviously something that needed to be getting rid of in order for the team to be okay. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. I think Chris Paul is still to be respected. I still think he could be a reliable jump shooter. He can open shots, that catch and shoots thing that we were talking about with Dariq Whitehead. Chris Paul can do that for you right now. So there's a lot of stuff that I still think Chris Paul is excellent at. But as far as me counting on him to be the point guard and all this, hopefully he can get him a championship, I ain't thinking about none of that. If he's going to get a championship, it's going to be like DeAndre Jordan. And it just got his. Ish Smith just got his. He's going to be in that kind of role. So I'm just telling people right now, that's what I see there. So, yeah, man, still enamored with Taylor Hendricks to the Pistons. I really want the Pistons to take a look at Taylor Hendricks. If they have to trade down to make it make sense, do that. But I would not pass on him as the best fit for me, even though Cam Whitmore may be more exciting of a player. For a fit for the Pistons, it's currently constructed. I'd probably go for fit if I'm the Pistons, since they got a bunch of youngsters in place all on the same timeline. You don't want to just be swinging for the fences, being a bunch of stuff to you that doesn't fit, because at that point, then you got a bunch of players who are young, trying to develop in non-fitting situations, trying to play their value up to look like they're better than the next man. All you got is competition amongst your team and not necessarily a team itself. You don't want to go that route. Even though everybody's telling you that's what you should do, it is not worth it, because you're not going to play those players in a way that makes them look their best. So how could they possibly be that? Keep the fit making sense with yourself there. And Derek Lively, as I look at him going to the Mavericks, I heard the Mavericks may want to trade 10 up, down, to the side to get a young another player who's a little more developed. I don't know, but that 10 is possibly on the move as well. So maybe the Lakers try to make a deal with the Mavericks, give them 17, give them something else, and maybe try to get that 10th pick. That would make me very happy, to put us in a firm position to get an impact player, or possibly catch one of those high lottery dudes that are going to slip, like Azur Thompson or Grady Dick or Kobe Buffkin. We could get a lot of awesome players at 10. Hell, we might be able to get Taylor Hendricks ourselves at 10. So that's interesting to me. If the Mavericks do trade that pick, who lands that pick? If I'm the Clippers, I want that pick. You know, these are the type of things I'm thinking about. So, yeah, I don't... You know, the Mavericks did so much to try to put themselves in a position to get that pick. I just think the most important thing is to get the most value for it. You know, maybe that means drafting it, maybe it means trading it. But most importantly, do for you with that pick if I'm the Mavericks. Do for you with that pick. Make sure you're happy with what you did, because you did tank the end of the season. When you were in a firm position to make the play-in tournament, the Bulls were not going to beat you. They were not going to beat you. They had pulled most of their starters, if I'm not mistaken. They were not better than you. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic was going to eat them alive even without rim protection. So they purposely lost that game so that they would ultimately be able to get this pick. And them being happy with the pick is not contingent upon them drafting it, in my opinion. If they could turn that pick into multiple pieces that make their team more full, I actually think that's probably the way to go. That's probably the way to go. Because that young player, especially if you're going to make him a guard, believe you me, you got some of the same problems you had last year, and that is a nightmare given the fact they're trying to give $1 trillion to Kyrie Irving, and Luka Doncic sitting there probably not very happy about any of it. So if I'm the Mavericks, the direction you're going in, the vision you have, I don't think it's going to be championship worthy. I think there are teams out here that we can clearly see are better than you right now. So that's it. That Kyrie Irving experiment failed, and you still want to go forward with it, and I am irritated with it. I'm highly irritated with it. I don't think Kyrie wants to be there. He clearly is trying to get himself to LA, and that's it. So I think the Mavericks should study what it is that they're wanting to do, what they want to do there. Communicate with your young superstar in Luka Doncic. Do not make any brash decisions upon his future that he may not be pleased with, because believe you me, he can leave y'all just as quick as anybody else can. And with that being said, maybe the Mavericks will be in the mix for something that New Orleans got. You know, maybe they want to get Zion. I don't think that's the worst place in the world for Zion at all. I think it's a Mavericks type of Zion, Luka Doncic could be a nice little hot and cold type of thing that could ultimately develop them to being one of the best teams in the league 3 years from now. So if I'm the Mavericks, I can venture my imagination into something like that. Trade for Zion Williamson. Hell yeah. Take that 10th pick and a bunch of that garbage, take a couple of them futures, send it up to New Orleans. That might get it done. Especially since his value should be lower than it ever will be ever again. I like that. And I've long said this: the New York Knicks. If I ever thought that there was a place that I could send Julius Randle, it's the Mavericks because he's from Dallas. And I think they would get some of that same dynamic, that hot and cold, Juju, Luka Doncic. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's the greatest fit in the world, but I definitely don't think it's the worst thing in the world, especially with Juju being capable of shooting 40% from behind the arc. So, if I'm the Knicks, I'm trying to unload Juju this offseason. I'm telling you right now, we done. After the playoffs, we lost to the Heat. Hell no, you got to go. You got to go. And so Juju's on the move. If I'm running things, he out. And I'm keeping all 7 of my picks. If I'm the Knicks, I'm not mortgaging my picks for a player. I'm not doing that. I know Knicks fans would like for them to do that. Stephen A. Smith's been on board with them doing that. I do not do that if I'm the Knicks. But what I will do is probably take 2 of those picks, offer it to the Hornets, and try to bring myself Scoot Henderson. That's what I'm talking about. You put Scoot Henderson next to that Austin player they got from the Mavericks, whose name is gone, Brunson. Whose name had lost my mind for a minute, but Brunson. You put Brunson, Scoot Henderson together, pull out Juju, send him to Dallas, pull up Obi Toppin, who's ready to score 20 points a game at this point. You got Robinson, you got Quickly. Heck yeah, I like all that. Or Brandon Miller even. You know, I move on from a guy like RJ Barrett. RJ's cool, but I can move on from that contract. Send that to the Blazers. Send a couple of them picks to the Blazers. Give me that 3rd overall pick. Let me draft Scoot or Brandon Miller or Amen Thompson. Bring him to New York. That's the type of dreaming the Knicks need to be dreaming about. Because I tell y'all right now, y'all disappointed me in these playoffs. Y'all had one of the deepest teams in the league and didn't do nothing with a bad Heat team. I'm disappointed. Y'all made me look crazy out here. And I don't see y'all anywhere in this lottery. The Knicks don't have a single pick in the lottery, but they got 7 futures. Get your butt in this lottery. You got a bunch of contracts that ain't worth a damn. Get your butt in this lottery, New York. So that's something I wanted to say. And yeah, man, running out of time. We got 3 minutes left. Since my last video lasted a whole hour, I ain't got a lot of time on this one, but I just want to get some thoughts out in regards to the NBA because it's a whole lot of stuff to be excited about coming up with this draft, baby. This is one of the more exciting drafts of my lifetime. I'm not even kidding. With Victor Wembanyama coming in, a 7'4", I think he's 7'4", even though they say he's 7'2", he's 7'4". The player is just going to be the best thing we've seen in a long time. He's going to change the game with how well he's proportioned for his body. That dude is super different, and I think he could be one of them dudes that could be an MVP candidate out the gate. I ain't kidding at all. So that's what I got to say about this draft, man. Learning to appreciate Azura Thompson's playmaking ability. After watching Spinella's video, one of the things that stood out to me was that the fact that he doesn't need to do a whole lot of dribble penetration to make good passes. He can make passes from the top of the key, from different angles that are precise, that ultimately make your team better. I just think that he's on his way to being one of the better off-point guard facilitators out there, and I would not be upset if my Lakers would have trade up to 10 and then get me one of them Thompson twins, because I just love the facilitating aspect of their game, and I would love to go forward with a player like that on my team, and I think a lot of teams would. So my appreciation for Azur is growing. So that's what I got to say, man. Running out of time whether I like it or not. And I thank everybody for watching BDL44, and I'm out.